Hello, I'm Juan Davies, Chief Creative Officer at KCT and PBS SoCal, and I'm joined by the newsroom of KPCC and LAist on a daily reporter roundup. How's everyone?
Good, thanks.
Doing well.
And thanks again for joining us, news editor Suzanne Levy.
Good to be here.
Emily, you talked earlier this week about which businesses receive federal PPP loans. These were the small business loans Congress created as part of the coronavirus stimulus package in March. You've gone deeper into the data. What have you found?
Right. So earlier this week, I found that LA's West Side got by far the most PPP loans of any region in the county. And there's a couple of reasons for this. I mean, first off, the West Side is just wealthier and whiter than other parts of LA County, and businesses there may have had an advantage because we know that from the beginning, the PPP was pretty fraught with inequity. Banks, for example, prioritized their wealthiest customers, while like truly small businesses had trouble applying. And because it was banks making the majority of these loans, it meant it was just harder for micro entrepreneurs or immigrant business owners who might not use traditional banks to access these loans. But also the West Side just has more jobs and businesses, period, than other parts of the county. And so in some ways, the PPP loan distribution really highlights inequity in LA. The places with jobs are unaffordable to most Angelinos, whereas the more affordable parts of the county have fewer jobs and businesses because of a legacy of neglect by investors and the business community.
There's been long lines for COVID-19 testing. Josie's been looking at a way to make it safer and more efficient in Orange County.
Right, there's 2 health clinics led by Asian immigrant women who've reimagined a way of testing that's practiced in South Korea. South Korea, of course, has taken some really aggressive measures with testing to flatten its curve earlier in the pandemic. And in South Korea, there are these testing stations that look like telephone booths. Patient goes inside, the tester stays on the outside, there's no swapped viral droplets. Well, the clinics in OC, one led by a Vietnamese American, the other by a Korean American, they've been paying close attention to what's going on in Asia, and they decided they wanted to adopt the Korean design for their clinics with help from Home Depot and Amazon. Patients told me they felt safer, their staff also feel safer, and they don't have to go through PPP as quickly. It's a very simple but very effective design.
Earlier this year, Aaron did some powerful reporting on the dirty and dangerous conditions in low-income housing. Now a state audit says inspectors aren't doing a good job finding these problems in mobile home parks.
Yeah, so 100,000 Californians, or rather hundreds of thousands of Californians, live in mobile home parks. This audit says that state government needs to do a better job making sure that they're safe and habitable. So over the last decade, state workers didn't inspect more than half of California's mobile home parks, and they don't have policies around what parks should be inspected in the first place. The California Department of Housing and Community Development, which does the inspections for mobile homes, is part of a patchwork that oversees rental housing in the state. And its inspectors have documented really serious issues. I reported at a mobile home park in Pomona, where inspectors found 111 health and safety code violations. At this park, there had been a typhus outbreak and years of sewage issues. So these health and safety concerns can be really serious.
And lastly, Walter's new podcast launches today, California Love. It's his take on growing up here in LA.
Yes, it's a podcast. It's called California Love, and it's essentially like a first-person / reported, audio documentary about my experience in LA. Told through like personal stories, but also like memory and episodes include like stories about my teenage years, about the Compton Cowboys and other episodes. And I think it's really important because like very rarely do people from LA have the opportunity to tell LA stories, and I'm one of those people, and I think we're all really excited about that. There are about 8 episodes. It can be found on all audio platforms, Spotify, Apple. Each episode sort of runs about 30 minutes long. And, I'm sort of like a big character in these episodes, right? And I'm kind of like understanding LA as someone who has been living outside of LA for a while, who just moved back, right? Trying to understand like how the city's changed, how I have changed. And I think our audience is like are sort of like also exploring that with me as well.
Well, thank you so much, Walter. Thank you all at the KPCC and LAist newsroom, and thank you for tuning in. Take care of your health, your family, your neighbor, and we will see you tomorrow.
Thank you.